Welcome back, my dear crime lovers. This is a new episode of The History of the American Mafia, a podcast written and adapted by Fabio Fabiano, read and translated by me, Grace Cadlisi. I do hope you enjoyed today's new episode. We're going to continue talking about our main protagonists of the story, and today in particular is the turn of Vincent Mangano. During the commission constituted by Lucky Luciano, Vincent Mangano was a representative of one of the 5 New York mafia families, and he held this position from 1931 until 1951, as well as being one of the co-founders of that same commission. Vincenzo Giovanni Mangano, whose US naturalized name was Vincent Mangano, although he was better known by his nickname Don Vincenzo, was born on December 14th, 1887, in Palermo, Sicily. His brother Filippo Mangano served as a deputy boss and later alderman for the same mafia family that is still known today as the Gambino family. Vincenzo Mangano and his sister Lorenza arrived in New York on May 6, 1909, aboard the ocean liner Piemonte. Once arriving in the States, Vincenzo declared to the immigration inspectors that he was 18, unmarried, and he was a gardener. But the truth was that his father and brother in Sicily were already prominent members of the mafia. They resided in Brooklyn, New York, and reunited with their brother Francesco on their arrival in the States. From further investigations at the New York Immigration Office, it was ascertained that Vincent had already been to the United States, but there remains little trace on the dynamics of his previous visit. Once reunited, Francesco and Vincent joined Salvatore D'Aquila's mafia organization in Brooklyn. On D'Aquila's death, Alfred Mineo became the leader of the family, although he too was assassinated during what will be remembered as the Castellamarese War. For a short period, Frank Scalisi took over the organization. Then the reins were entrusted to Vincent Mangano. He, like his close friend and fellow mafia family boss Joe Profaci, was in good terms with the mafia in western New York, especially with Lucky Luciano. Vincent's criminal activities took place mostly on the New York waterfront, on the Brooklyn docks. This was thanks to the control of the Union of the Association of the International Port Unloaders, whose president was Anthony Anastasi, along with his brother Alberto, also members of the mafia gang. Anthony kept the original spelling of his surname, which was Anastasi, unlike his brother, who changed it into Anastasia. Mangano, strengthened by his coterie, forced the longshoremen to pay a sum for each day of work in the docks in the Brooklyn port. But that was not all. Insiders from the mafia organization provided information on each arriving ship and its loads, allowing them to organize heists on those that interested them most. Naturally, they didn't stop at that. To all the ships that docked in the Brooklyn docks, the mafia organization imposed a payment, a protection fee, which would allow them to unload or load their goods safely. Mangano, together with his cousin, Emile Camarda, who had the important role of soldier of the clan, founded the City Democratic Club, formerly an association whose aims were to promote American values. But the club proved to be the front for Murder Inc., the notorious gang of mostly Jewish hitmen who carried out, in exchange for an agreed sum of money, Cosa Nostra's contract killings nationwide. Anastasia was the chief operating officer of Murder Inc., and the club was the meeting place for the members. As most of our protagonists, Mangano also had his share of legal troubles. In 1923, He was indicted on murder charges, but was never convicted due to the lack of evidence. There is evidence, however, of a trip he made to Cuba. It is suspected that as head of a mafia family, he had attended the Havana Conference organized by Mayor Lansky in the Hotel Nacional on December the 22nd, 1946. It must be said that although Vincent Mangano had adapted to the new rackets and overall changes that the mafia was experiencing, he was an old-fashioned mafioso who still believed in the old mafia traditions: honor, tradition, respect, and dignity. He, unlike his colleagues from the emerging mafia organization, belonged to the old mafia guard, those grown up in Sicily with inborn values and traditions. Therefore, he didn't look favorably on the young and emerging mafia members, such as Luciano and Frank Costello. Albert Anastasia, on the other hand, preferred the company and doing business with younger mobsters such as Luciano and Costello. Mangano and his deputy Anastasia, despite having shared the same criminal activities for 20 years, never really got along. Over time, Mangano had many reasons to resent Anastasia and at the same time distrust him. In 1951, Anastasia heard rumours according to which his boss, Mangano, had decided to eliminate him, and to defend himself, he decided to anticipate the move according to the principle of self-defense. On April the 19th, 1951, a woman crossing a field of tall grass discovered the body of Philip Mangano in a marshy area in Jamaica Bay, Brooklyn. From that same day, there was no more news of Vincent. His body was never found. Anastasia was heard by the Mafia Commission regarding the disappearance of the two brothers. He never confessed to being involved in the murders of the Mangano brothers, but he managed to convince the heads of the other families that his boss had plotted to have him killed. Frank Costello backed up his story. The commission therefore confirmed Anastasia as head of the family, taking Mangano's place. In that same period, Carlo Gambino and his cousin Paul Castellano were promoted within that same mafia family, but that is yet another chapter of our story. Stay tuned.